Hey, what's up, Thunder fans? This is another week of Thunder Things with the Thunder Guys. I'm Zach. I've got Craig here with me, and together we are the Thunder Guys. We're excited to talk some more Thunder basketball. It's been a little bit rough, but we're still excited to jump in. Thank you so much if you're watching live on YouTube Live. Thank you so much. If you're not, you can jump in on that over at Crossover Radio on YouTube Live. Make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss anything. We are super excited to be a part of what they are doing. If you're listening on the Crossover Radio app, thank you. If you haven't downloaded that bad boy, you need to go do that. It's absolutely free. Crossover Radio is running all kinds of awesome content throughout the week, as well as playing some pretty sweet jams. So make sure you jump in on that. So some sweet jams. So let's jump in here, Craig. How's your week been, man?
It's better, getting better every week with the whole sickness thing. I feel like you're starting to get a little bit
man.
sick
I've had
now.
a cough the past few days. I got my coffee here to help me help soothe my throat.
Maybe
a little bit,
one of these weeks we'll both be 100%.
Healthy.
Yeah,
like the Thunder, right? We'd like to
Maybe.
see them. I mean, they're healthy, but they're certainly not playing like it. Let's jump in, do a little bit of weekly recap here. Talk about obviously the highlight of the week. Really, the only good thing was of the week was the win at home versus Golden State. Finally kind of got over that hill. Beat Golden State 108-91. I've got some notes here. It was close early for like 5 minutes. We took the lead about 7 minutes into the first quarter, and at that point we led the rest of the way. What are some things that jump out at you?
Just the consistency of the play and the offense. I feel like it was arguably the best game that they've put together offensively, being consistent at least.
From start to finish.
From start to finish,
for
yeah.
Sure.
Like you were saying, it was close for a while. You kind of felt like at any moment Golden State could kind of turn things around and run away with it. But the Thunder,
you kind of feel like they can do that at any
right?
point,
Yeah.
right?
I mean they've been digging themselves in holes all season long in the first quarter. So you were more so on that side of things than I was.
I kind of felt like something was coming.
Right, yeah, like a run was coming, something was going to happen. But the Thunder, you got to really credit them. I don't think it was what the Warriors didn't do. I think it was what the Thunder did do.
I agree. Maintain composure, which is something that has really been a question mark for not just this season, but in past years. You play teams with where there's a lot of emotion involved, like Golden State, and it kind of feels like we've been on the bottom side of some of those altercations, and really came out on top. Russell Westbrook, he looked like the league's reigning MVP. He shot 13 of 27. He had 34 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals. He gave it his all on both ends of the court from start to finish. There were a few possessions there where he let up defensively, but he answered with something big. And most notably, he stole the pass from Kevin Durant, came down, dunked it. Very next possession, tipped the ball away from Curry, raced him down the court. You really saw Russell Westbrook's speed. He really made Steph Curry look like a little kid. He just kind of danced around him, got to the basket with ease. Curry could not defend him. There was no stopping Russell Westbrook.
Right. We talked a little bit about it after the game in our short little podcast we did, but in the previous matchups against Golden State, it was, all the focus is obviously on Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant.
For sure.
It was like, okay, Durant scored, now what is Westbrook going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so you still had that back and forth thing, except for the difference this time was that Westbrook had options. He didn't have to force anything.
Right.
If the shot wasn't there, he could defer to somebody else. Which really opened him up to be able to score. And so I think what Durant hit 2 threes early in the game, like back-to-back, had a quick 6 points, and you're like, okay, here we go again.
My thought process was, he had scored at least 30 points in the 3 meetings last season, and I'm thinking, he's going to hit that surely. If he's going to start off like this. Then
yeah. I thought it would happen. I thought he was going to set that record for, most 30-point games against his former team. Because it's Kevin Durant. That's what he does. He scores points. I think the biggest difference this time is that the Thunder were able to get into the heads of the Warriors. Previous matchups, it's been the other way around. And I think it's easy for Kevin Durant to tune out the noise and to smile when he's knocking those shots down.
Right.
But whenever you've got all that hate coming in on him, the drama between him and Westbrook, and then you add his I wouldn't say poor shooting because he didn't play terrible, but it's not up to Kevin Durant standards. I think when he's missing shots and he's getting his shots blocked off the glass by Jeremy Grant, it's a lot easier for those things to start bothering a person. It doesn't matter who it is. So you really got to credit the Thunder for not allowing Kevin Durant to get anything going and getting into a rhythm because, I mean, it's basically game over when he does.
And not just Durant, but really nobody.
Exactly,
I mean, Steph Curry played a pretty decent game, but even by his standards, it wasn't anything more than below average even for him. Whereas Westbrook, he had a supporting cast doing everything. Paul George, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 blocks. His defense was outstanding, and it really showed in a game like that where you've got shooters who are capable of doing all kinds of things. They're all over the place. You had Carmelo Anthony, 22 points, 5 rebounds. Didn't try to do too much. Just kind of played his role.
Which surprised me a little bit.
It was nice, though.
Yeah.
When you've got guys like Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, they are superstars. And this is the biggest stage, not necessarily of the season, but this was definitely the biggest game of Thanksgiving week. It had an extremely high rating nationally. I think it might have been the highest for the season. I'm not sure on that. I know in Oklahoma City, it definitely was.
Right.
I mean,
no doubt.
So many people were tuning in to watch this. So they did not try to overdo it. They just kind of played their role, did their thing. I think they wanted to get that win for Westbrook, and that's why they were able to be so consistent. But then you look at like Steven Adams, 14 points, 12 rebounds, 2 steals. He just dominated down low.
And they got him going early.
Yeah, he didn't have to do too much. And it was like, there were multiple plays where Draymond Green was hanging all over him, and Zaza Pachulia is down there as well. And they're just kind of rolling with it like it's not even a big deal. And he was just fine. Jeremy Grant, obviously, he didn't do too much as far as the stats go,
blocks.
But the blocks on Kevin Durant were huge. You're talking
momentum
about
changers.
Momentum changers. The crowd was into it. Loud City earned its name that night. You bring Kevin Durant in, he's booed every single time that he touches the ball. He drives to the basket, Jeremy Grant comes out of nowhere and swats the mess out of it, and everybody's just amped. And, I mean, led by 26 at one point in the game, that's the most the Warriors had trailed at all season long. So that is what the Thunder are capable of. But 2 days later happened.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so you get let's talk about Detroit. Hosted the Pistons 2 days later, lost 98-99. What happened there?
I think you had a little bit of a hangover, so to speak, from that big win. But it was still definitely a winnable game. I think the Thunder led for a majority of the game. If I'm
led
correct.
The entire game until there were about 10-11 minutes left in the fourth.
It comes down to the Thunder needing to be able to finish again and staying strong. I mean, you can't take quarters off and win games, especially the fourth quarter. You have room to make up things first or second, but when it gets late in the game, you just can't afford to have those kind of issues. So I was just going to say, it's like you went over the hump, so to speak, on the Golden State win, and then you kind of a little bit of a depressing downfall back to reality almost with the Detroit loss. So
yeah, for me, I remember watching it and kind of feeling like, I don't know, I was engaged and I was excited because it's Thunder basketball, but at the same time, it's kind of like the high that Golden State was. I wasn't there anymore.
Right.
And so it almost felt like the players were like that. I mean, Westbrook did okay. Statistically, his stats looked decent. 27 points, 11 assists, 11 rebounds. He got that triple-double, but he shot a miserable 10 of 29. Way too many shots. Not a good percentage. Even worse, he was 1 for 10 from 3. That's about 7-8 too many threes for him per game. Maybe
too many,
not good. Melo did not shoot well at all. He was 9 for 24, and then even Paul George, I mean, he was the best of the three, 7 for 17. So everybody really struggled there. And then you look at Andre Robertson. He had his best game of the season with 10 points, and granted, he got almost all of those in the first quarter. Very early, they got him going. 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. He played a season-high 42 minutes. Interestingly enough, he had the team best plus-minus at plus 11. He hit a 3 with 47 seconds to go to pull it within
You've been
one.
ready for this, haven't you?
Listen, I've got a little bit of not ranting, but some negativity about Dre. He has disappeared in some aspects, but this was his highlight, and I didn't realize how well he had outperformed the rest of his teammates. To play 42 minutes of this game that was really close for most of it, and to go plus 11, I think to me that stands out. Like, his defense, he was getting things done. He didn't stuff a stat sheet. a stat sheet. Like, by his standards, I mean, that's pretty solid.
That is stuffing a
First
stat sheet
time-
by his standard.
First time all season he's hit double digits in points, so that's good to see. But the thing was, he wasn't doing anything crazy flashy. He didn't have to do that much. It was just kind of, he was in the right place at the right time, doing the right things, and I think that's where he needs to be. If he can just continue to do those things, and we'll talk a little bit more about his season stats, which some of them are abysmal, and we're going to talk a little bit later in our show about who should really be getting the minutes. 42 minutes is a lot for him.
Yeah.
But I feel like he earned it well, at least for that game. So I just wanted to
go back to the Russ and his poor shooting. You almost felt like that was going to happen coming off of that big Golden State game.
Big high, lots of emotions.
Right. He played extremely. He shot well. He was going to come out and take a lot of shots.
Right.
It just goes back to this chemistry we've been discussing. If it's not your night, it's not your night. You got to find someone's got to be on, and we can't keep affording to have all three of these guys having subpar nights.
Let's see.
So then you have the Dallas game,
right,
which should have been an easy gimme.
I mean, that's literally what we called it last week.
We said probably. It's funny. We said probably a loss to Golden State. We thought we could win.
Right.
We thought we'd beat the Pistons, and we thought we'd beat the Mavericks. And
instead,
it was the exact opposite.
Yeah. We trailed by as many as 26 at one point, which is just unreal. Shot 36.3% from the field. Outscored in the paint, out-rebounded.
They led in like almost every category.
We got destroyed, and I mean, we shot more free throws than they did, but we only shot 13. 9 of those came from Westbrook because he was driving so much. Paul George easily had his worst game of the season.
Was he 1 of 9
scoring
or 1 of
at
10?
least? He was 1 of 12.
1 of 12.
For only 2 points. He still had 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 4 steals, so he was contributing in other ways. But we rely so much on him. We rely so much on him for scoring that we couldn't do that. It was not good. Melo, he sat out the entire fourth quarter, which by that point the game was kind of out of hand, and we kind of made a comeback. He was asked about it, and it didn't really bother him, and I get that. Like, I'm sure Donovan kind of thought it was over, and he put some other guys in it. Nick Collison played well, some other guys, that kind of thing.
At the end of it, you can't score 37 points in the first half and expect to be competitive in the game.
Right.
It was kind of from that moment you kind of knew that it was going to be a loss, and so you kind of had the rest of the night to sit there and think about it, and it's no fun for us who have to cover these kind of things.
One thing that stood out to me, Terrence Ferguson, he has not played a lot this season at all. He was the first man off the bench.
I was surprised by that.
I was trying to figure out what was going on. He played a season-high 20 minutes. That's the first time since the second game of the season in Utah that he's played in double digits, and I took the time to type out here his minutes played per game. And I want to lay this out for you every single game, okay? It'll be real quick. After Utah, so the first 2 games of the season, New York Knicks, Utah Jazz, he played, it was like 12 minutes and 10 minutes. He broke double digits. Here's the rest of the way. Minnesota did not play. Indiana, 2 minutes. Minnesota, 3 minutes. Chicago, 5 minutes. Milwaukee, 2 minutes. Boston, 2 minutes. Portland did not play. Sacramento, 5 minutes. Denver did not play. Clippers did not play. Dallas, 2 minutes. Chicago, 4 minutes. San Antonio did not play. New Orleans did not play. Golden State, 2 minutes. Detroit, I think that was did not play. And then Dallas, 21 minutes.
Is Billy Donovan just trying something different?
I don't know. And we're going to talk about Billy Donovan. We're going to take a short break, hear a word from our sponsors, and then we're going to... I want to talk... I don't know about you. I want to talk about Billy Donovan. I know I've seen a lot of complaints.
Plenty to say.
I think there are a lot of people who have a lot to say. And I mean, I can't really blame him, I guess. He's been questionable at best. So we want to... we want to talk about him. We're going to jump in and take a quick break after a word from these sponsors. All right, if you are watching live with us on YouTube, thank you so much for joining in. If you would please throw any questions, comments our way. We would be glad to answer those and join in on the conversation with you. No matter what it is you're up to on this fine Tuesday evening. Besides that, we're about to jump in, talk a little bit of Billy Donovan. He has been questionable at best in his coaching decisions. So, Craig, I don't know about you, but I definitely want to talk about some of that. Then we'll talk about some other interesting stats that have really been affecting the Thunder. Some interesting stuff there. as well as talking about who should be playing, who should be getting these minutes. We mentioned Terrence Ferguson getting 21. Granted, I mean, it's in a game that really should have been a gimme game. Should not have been that challenging, but it was a loss. It was a bad loss.
I got a stat to throw out at you when we get into talking about players. Something I mean, you may have seen it on the interwebs, but
yeah, we'll throw it out there. If you're watching, hope you guys like our new aesthetic here with the Christmas lights. Shout out to my wife Angie for doing that for us. She was real excited about finding those. Wanted to help spruce up our Thunder flags. So, but anyways, we are about to jump back in here in about another.
I'm not a fan of
40
Christmas
seconds.
lights, but I don't mind it.
Don't be a Grinch, Craig.
I am the biggest Grinch ever. And it's not a secret.
Hey there, Thunder fans. We are back. Thunder Things with the Thunder guys. I'm Zach. This is Craig. We are excited to be here, and we're glad that you have joined us. Hopefully you've joined us. We're ready to jump in, talk a little bit about Billy Donovan. His coaching has been subpar, in our opinion, in a lot of opinions. There's a lot of talk going around. I've seen some social media names, some hashtags going around. Fire Billy Donovan. I think that might be a little bit much, but I mean, there's
Is
some.
it though?
I don't know. There may be some talk here that's warranted in terms of questioning his coaching ability and what he's doing so far. We've got a lot of star power, really quality players. Based on talent alone, we should be winning more games than we've got. But a couple different things that I want to talk about specifically. Let's start off talking about some rotation choices. We mentioned. I mentioned Terrence Ferguson, first one off the bench on Saturday. First time that's happened all season. Plays a season-high 21 minutes after going almost, I think it was like 15 games without playing more than 5 minutes.
Right.
I mean, that's a major jump. And Billy Donovan is known for wanting to experiment with rotations. So what has he done well, if anything, in your opinion? What does he need to change about rotations? What are you thinking there?
I'm not sure he's done anything well with rotations as far as, I mean, by 20 games in, I'm not saying your rotation should be set for the season, but you should at least have an idea of what you're doing. And when you look at, it was the Mavericks, it should have been a gimme win. However, I don't think being on a 2-game, I don't think, on the losing streak that the Thunder have been on, minus the Golden State win, I don't think that's a game that you can experiment with.
Right.
I don't know. Is that like 3 out of the last 4 games? Maybe more than that they've lost. Because it was like the 3 before Golden State, right?
We lost to San Antonio, the Pelicans, beat Golden State, lost to Detroit, lost to Dallas.
Yeah. So I think this is a game that you have to come in and say this is a must win. And maybe later in the game we can experiment with some things. But Terrence Ferguson being the first guy off the bench, it made absolutely no sense to me.
I don't know if practice has gone really well for him. I mean, he showed some potential early on in the season, in preseason, and then got a little bit of play time those first 2 games as a rookie. Then he rolled his ankle in pregame of the 3rd game of the season. That's why he didn't play against Minnesota. But he recovered from it pretty quickly. And even then, though, like I'm not understanding what is it about him that puts him ahead of some of these other guys that have really proven themselves and have done well for us so far this season. Who do you want to see first off?
First off, this is exactly what I was expecting to find. Is he played a season high 20 minutes and he was a team worst -20 while he was on the floor and plus
-20.
Yeah. Only one close to that was Patrick Patterson at 18. But
he's not played that well either.
Right.
We'll get to him.
So anyways, who would I like to see have more minutes? Jeremy Grant is a guy that I would love to see start receiving starting minutes. I talked a couple weeks ago that I wouldn't mind seeing him in the starting lineup. Right. But when Jeremy Grant and Terrence Ferguson have the same amount of minutes, something's wrong because, in my opinion, those guys are on 2 completely different levels.
See, Jeremy Grant, he's actually averaging 22, I believe. Let me see, 22.6 minutes per game. So he played about his normal, whereas Terrence Ferguson, who's only averaged like 5 or 6
Right.
a game, and most of that average comes from this big shoot up. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of him coming. And I don't have anything against the guy. He's got some bounce to him. Like, I mean, I've seen the guy go up for some big plays, that kind of thing, and I think he's got some of that athletic ability. I'd like to see him. I said this the other night. I'd like to see him eat a few cheeseburgers. He could stand to gain a few pounds. Maybe he could go out to dinner with Raymond Felton and take some of his or something. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I love Raymond Felton, but he's not what I think needs to be the guy coming off the bench first. We've got veteran talent that can come in and help control the offense and help make some things happen. Jeremy Grant is a guy he is a playmaker. He's not going to stuff a stat sheet every single night. He's had some better stat lines, here and there, but he's going to come in and make a play one way or another. You don't ever have to doubt his aggressiveness. You don't have to doubt his abilities. You don't have to doubt whether or not he's going to go 100 every single time down the court. He's giving it his all. And that's not doubting on Ferguson's abilities or what he's putting forth or his effort, but we're looking at a guy who's been in the league for a few years. He's been with this team for more than a season versus a rookie.
Right.
To me, it's an easy decision.
Yeah. Real quick, going back to this plus-minus thing, the only Thunder player in the positive against Dallas?
Andre Robertson.
No.
Was it not?
No. Andre Robertson was an even 0.
Oh, okay.
But Nick Collison.
That's right.
Plus 10.
He came in and he did some work real fast.
He did. What's up with Andre Robertson in this case? Speaking of players who should be having playing time, maybe less playing time, only getting 15 minutes.
Right.
He took 2 shots, missed them both, picked up a couple rebounds and a couple assists. When you look at, the Thunder only allowed 97 points,
right,
but were only able to produce 81. Where does he fit in this? Because he's there for defense, which, the defense wasn't the issue, but he's not giving anything in this sense as far as offensive production
Well, I don't
goes.
think you can blame him in either aspect because he barely played, whereas, the Mavericks are not a good offensive team. They actually average 98 points a game. So we held them to about what their normal is. And to me, I don't know if that's good defense. It's good defense in terms of what you would expect a standard NBA team to score. But I don't know.
I just think the Thunder should be able to, when you hold a team to 97 points, you should be able to score more than that with the talent we have. Well, and like I said, Paul George also only having 2 points, Steven Adams with 6. Those are issues as well. I'm thinking, I know he only played 15 minutes, but was that why he only had 15 minutes? Or, was he just... I'm just trying to figure out what was going on there.
I think the game got out of control so quickly that maybe Billy Donovan was trying to try some different things, and Dre was just kind of the odd man out because Dallas doesn't have an elite scorer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were just kind of all doing whatever it was they wanted, and they were hitting some shots, and it was just kind of the way that it went down. So I don't know if it was necessarily anything that Dre did to not get to play so much as just maybe the matchup, that kind of. And I've always said Andre Robertson is a situational style player in terms of where he needs to play.
It's almost like we need a two-way shooting guard, which is what I've been saying for a while. Defense.
Says.
Well, listen, check this out. So the NBA releases these stats where they have charts that factor in your defensive rating with your offense, and just for the shooting guards, James Harden is obviously way in the lead. He's, as far right as any player is, but you also have former Thunder players, Victor Oladipo and Jeremy Lamb, both leading the way. Or all 3 of those guys leading the way in this category, and it's like these are all guys that we've had. Obviously you look at Victor Oladipo.
What did Jeremy Lamb do when he was here?
But how much opportunity was he given under Scott Brooks?
I feel like we've had this discussion
we have
in
had
the
this.
past.
We don't even really need to be...
Was I not a big advocate for him, though? I said, let the guy... Oh, Craig, come on, man. I pulled
maybe
for
it was... who was the other guy from Baylor?
Perry Jones.
Was it Perry Jones that you weren't a fan of?
No, I liked them both. I thought they both deserved a chance, but they were given it... Specifically, Jeremy Lamb was given it, and he looked... on the basketball court like he looks in his face, like he was asleep.
Right.
He was more concerned about going to the on-cue down the street to get candy after the game than he was about actually playing. And now all of a sudden he's doing well. I don't know if that's just because Charlotte doesn't have the talent.
Right, but it's not all of a sudden. It's the season he left. He almost had averaged about 20 points that year. And it's like you see these stats of like, okay, James Harden goes on and he's going to be an MVP one day. Victor Oladipo is playing super well. It seems like, it's stuff you can blow over the shoulder, but at some point, when do we talk about all of these Thunder players, former Thunder players, having
Right.
success elsewhere and not really fitting in. Like, what is the issue there? I wouldn't be surprised if Andre Robertson left the Thunder and then started averaging 12 points a game or something.
Whoa, let's not go
I'm just saying, that's the way it seems like it
Right.
goes for Oklahoma City, and I just thought that was a very interesting stat.
He was here with us for, was it 4 seasons?
I thought it was only 2 or 3.
He left the year that Harden got traded.
I mean, how long is a rookie? I think a rookie contract's 3 years.
Well, they've got the 4th year
option.
Because
I don't think he
I'm not
finished
sure
that up.
what it was. But whenever he was here, I remember he got there was one season where he got a lot of opportunities early, and he didn't really do much. And then it was like out of nowhere, he was in the doghouse with Scott Brooks. Right. And I get it. Like I always thought he was a capable player, and I wasn't sure. Let's see. Yeah, he spent three full seasons here, 3 full seasons, and he just didn't. I don't know. He didn't get things done. He wasn't consistent. And then, of course, maybe it is a change of scenery. I don't know.
Yeah.
You
don't know what goes on in the background. Whether
that's true.
I mean, it could have been a lack of effort in practice
Maturity
or attitude
maybe,
issue. Yeah.
Coach problem. I don't know.
Anyways, we got so far off track, but I found that stat today scrolling through Twitter, and I was thinking, man, like, we dog on Andre Robertson and our other guys for not scoring much, but I feel like as soon as they depart,
Right.
they'll find their spot somewhere else. Anyways, coaching.
We talked about rotations. Here's an interesting aspect. Do you think that Billy Donovan has an issue with his play calling selection? Do you think he has an issue with respect from the players? Like, he makes a play call and they do their own thing? Do you think it's a combination or what?
I think play calling is very inconsistent, specifically coming out of timeouts.
If we have plays, is that what you're
saying?
Right. Or do you believe that we have plays?
No. I mean, I do, because I see certain things, like Westbrook coming around, the left side, and then dumping inside to Adams. Then Adam immediately turns around, and like, that has to be a design play, or Adams is not immediately turning and throwing the ball out in the perimeter. The specific play I'm talking about, I think Paul George missed the 3, which he missed almost every shot he took that night. But so they do have plays, and it's like, I believe it was Steven Adams actually who said this. Sometimes the shots just don't fall. The plays there, there could be a spacing issue, but because the shots aren't falling within his design play, I don't think that means you just come down the floor the next time and have an isolation offense.
Right.
And that's what the Thunder are defaulting to.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, it's Billy Donovan who's allowing them to get away with that. If it's hard to coach egos, it's hard to control, especially a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who, I mean, try convincing Carmelo Anthony that he shouldn't be shooting the ball every single time he gets it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, and I understand that mindset. If you're a scorer, that's who you are. That's what you've been doing for 10, 12 years in the league now. But there has to be something. My dad made a great point yesterday. Did you listen to our little podcast we did by chance?
I did not. I didn't.
Yeah, we did a little. I jumped on there with him. Richard was not available, so I helped him out. We talked about the Thunder for about 15 minutes. He had a very good point when I mentioned Billy Donovan needing to have control of the players. Is you can't, to an extent, you can't control these guys. In college, at the college level, you've got 18, 19-year-old kids that you can, you're an adult, they're still kids. But when you've got grown men in the NBA, it's a little bit harder to manage those situations. And I threw out Eric Spoelstra in Miami that he was able to control that talent there. But what my dad pointed out was Eric Spoelstra went to LeBron and said, hey, these guys aren't going to get it from me. I need you to pass this on.
Right.
And I think that's a very good point. Billy Donovan needs to be going to Russell Westbrook saying, here is our game plan.
So you think Russ is the alpha? He's the guy that needs to be.
Yes, and he has to be, because like I said, is Melo more likely to listen to Russell Westbrook or Scott Brooks? You know what I'm saying?
Billy Donovan.
I'm sorry, yeah. Oh my goodness.
We were talking about Scott Brooks earlier.
We just went back in time.
Yeah. We were talking about him just a minute
Oh my
ago,
goodness.
so.
But yes, is he more likely to listen to Billy Donovan or Russell Westbrook?
That's
and
fair.
I think that's a very good point. And so if Billy Donovan is doing that, then that falls on Russell Westbrook. But I don't see that happening. I don't see Russell Westbrook going over to Scott Brooks. Oh my goodness, Billy Donovan every single time there's a free throw. You see, usually the point guard slips over to the sideline. You look at Tony Parker in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Where is he at every single time there's a break in the game? Pop. Exactly. And what is Pop doing? He's pushing the game plan through his point guard. And so to me, that's what needs to happen. Right. Everything needs to to flow through Russell Westbrook, and it's just simply not happening right now.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think you're dead on a lot of this. He's got to find some way to get it in their heads that this is a team game. And I think they have that mindset. I think they just kind of go back to their old ways a little bit, depending upon how things go. And there's got to be some change there. There's got to be something going on. We got to run a consistent offense. You see, we start off games in those first 5-6 minutes. A lot of times,
fluid.
Yeah, it's ball movement, scoring, very consistent, good shots. Now, Billy Donovan did say one thing that I thought was really interesting, and it was the fact that at this point, guys are not shooting well.
Right.
And if you look at it, it's shots that, and he went into a little bit of advanced statistics here. The statistics show that the shots that they're taking, they should be making at a higher rate. So eventually, you've got to think, we'll come back to the mean, come back to the average. Those shots have to start falling eventually. And that leads me into our next point here. You look at the Thunder's record versus the Thunder's point differential against opponents, and it's absurd.
Right.
Okay, we are 8-11, but the Thunder is 6th in the NBA in plus minus with a plus 3.9 per game average. Okay? But we're 9th in the Western Conference. I'm not even sure where we are overall in the standings.
I don't even know how many wins do we have in the Western Conference. Like a couple?
We're 2-11 maybe against the Western Conference. It's bad. Okay? We are the only other team in the NBA, or sorry, there's only one other team with a positive plus minus that also has a losing record, and that's the Utah Jazz. And they're like 13th on plus minus. So they're behind us. They have a plus 0.9. So it's barely. So our plus minus is solid. If you look at our wins, of our 8 wins, the closest one was by 9 over the Clippers. We're averaging, our average margin of victory is 17.8 points. We're killing some teams.
Right.
Okay? Now, granted, outside of Golden State, a lot of those wins haven't really been that great. Okay? So there's that. But as far as losses go, let's see. Of the 11 losses, only one of them was by double digits, and that was the Mavs was the first double-digit loss of the game. Our average margin of loss is 6.1 points. We have 5 losses that are by 4 or fewer points. So we're playing there. It's just we're not finishing strong, and it's kind of like maybe Billy Donovan's right. Once these shots start falling, and that's the thing, if we're winning, it doesn't matter how we're winning.
Right.
Billy Donovan's not going to be on any kind of hot seat, and that's the thing. Based on our point differential, the statistics show that our record should be somewhere around 13-6. If we had a 13-6 record right now,
I'm happy.
I don't think anybody's complaining.
Right.
I mean,
absolutely not.
That's just how it's going to be. Because we're still figuring out chemistry. Right. But you can only say that for so long. We can only say, don't hit the panic button. Let's take it easy. Right. Let's relax. You can only do that to a certain point.
And that's what I was going to say. I'm not saying, jump out and fire him tonight or whatever. But we looked at it 10 games in, and we said too early. And then now we're almost at 20 games in, and it's still, too early.
Right.
But what happens when we get to 30 games and nothing's happened? Because then you're approaching the All-Star break, and I could be wrong, but I don't think you want to be making a coaching change after the All-Star break. I think that's something you want to have,
You don't want to be making a coaching change when you've got 2 guys who are on the brink of potentially leaving at the end of the year, and you'd like to keep at least one of them.
Well,
I hear you. If you're gonna do it, it needs to happen realistically sometime before Christmas. I don't know if that's going to happen, and I'm not saying fire Billy Donovan. I'm saying fix it.
Right.
Whatever that means.
Something needs to happen now.
Yes.
And sympathizing with him a little bit. I mean, we're sitting here saying this could be the problem, this could be the problem. No one knows what the problem is.
Right.
We're looking at all these things as far as, the Thunder being one of the best teams defensively in the league, a top in plus minus. So why are we losing? Why, with all of these scoring options, are we only putting up 81 points against the Mavericks?
The Mavericks!
And so I'm glad I don't have to be the one who's responsible for figuring that out.
Right.
Because if it was simple, it would be done, and it's you know what I mean. Like
yes.
He's a professional coach for a reason. He's capable of doing it, but I think honestly, it's got to be difficult to when you're looking at all the things, and he loves to take the positives, Billy Donovan, and that's one of the things that irritates me a little bit. Is
break a dang clipboard every once in a while, man.
I mean, we lost, got destroyed by the Mavericks, and then in the post game, there's a lot of positives we can take. I'm tired of hearing about the positives.
Let's hear a rant.
Right.
Let's see him. You've talked about you want to see a little bit of passion. Greg Popovich got thrown out of his second game this month.
I know.
Last night. And he's had some not so nice things to the officials.
Yeah.
And, he gets after him. but his players go to war for him. And I'm not saying the Thunder aren't giving their effort and they're not willing to do that for Billy Donovan, but it's one of those things. What is he willing to show for them so that he can get something out of it? And I think if I see my coach, if I see somebody that I respect, my authority, get amped up and fired up, I'm following that guy.
Yeah.
And they need to see that from him. And once again, the answer is not getting technicals or getting thrown out of a game, but show a little bit more passion. Agreed. Be willing to say, now I'm not saying throw the team under the bus. I respect the fact that he doesn't point fingers, and I think a lot of guys do that, and I think that's at the same time that's kind of a bit of pandering. But when it comes down to it, you know, they had the locker room meeting, and I felt like there was some changes there, very short-lived. I don't know if they need to get locked up for, that was a half hour. I don't know if they need to get locked up for an hour, sing some kumbaya and figure whatever it is out, but my takeaway from all this is fix it. Fix it now.
Yeah, we're getting impatient, and I mean, rightfully so. It's no fun to waste your Saturday night watching, the Thunder get dominated by the Mavericks.
The Mavericks.
But I'm saying, you look at, they were 7-9 heading into the Golden State game.
Right. You
pick up the win, the amazing win against the Warriors. We're back to thinking, okay, this is a championship caliber team, sitting at 8-9, and then all of a sudden it's like, you lose to the Pistons 8-10.
And the way that we lost to Detroit, we didn't say this, but it was off a terrible Russell Westbrook 3.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have no idea why that shot was taken, or why the previous 2 or 3 possessions we shot threes either.
Yeah, there were a lot of terrible possessions, and I think the play just kind of, that's what was there. It's easy to go slow motion and break down a play. In the heat of the moment, it's not that easy. One thing I didn't like was Billy Donovan said, I liked our look, or we got what we were looking for. And I'm just thinking, well, that's what you're looking for?
You only needed a 2.
And I get that was the shot.
You had like 4 seconds. I mean, something. So, you have time.
Yeah, he jacked it. And I don't know if he was hoping for like a long rebound to get another shot up or what. Because, there was Avery Bradley played some solid defense on him throughout the night. So I get that. But it was just... it was bad. All right, we are going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the minute distribution across the roster, where that should be, and then take a look at our upcoming week. So let's take another quick break and get a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back. All righty. Let's see here.
YouTube Live. I don't like being able to see myself here on the monitor.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Mom. I don't know if my mom's watching, but anyways.
Is my mom going to be watching this?
I don't know. What's that? Is that Amon Shumpert?
Amon Shumpert and...
JR.
Yeah.
JR Smith.
Yeah.
Right.
For the finals or whatever. It was on Good Morning America. Yeah.
That was pretty
My
funny.
mom loves Good Morning America. What do we got, like... 10 and 10?
Yeah, something like that. We'll probably spend less time here, whatever we got in here. And I'm not planning about talking about all that, just some reference points for everything. Guys, thanks for watching live. We appreciate that. I'm glad to have you all. However many of you are there, we appreciate it. But anyways, we've got some good opportunities coming up, Craig. Orlando is not good right now. Minnesota.
There's no gimme wins though.
I agree. I'm just saying that might be a good thing for us to get over that hump and then take on Minnesota at home, San Antonio at home. Those would be some solid wins for us. So we'll jump in and talk about that. And, I want to see some wins. I want to win.
Please don't ever say that.
All right, Thunder fans, we are back at it. Thunder Things with the Thunder guys, Zach and Craig here on Crossover Radio with a Purpose. Thanks for joining us once again. We're going to jump in and let's have a little look-see at who should be playing. And I feel like things could get a little bit rowdy, so Craig, I'm going to need you to keep your pants on.
Okay.
I know.
Is it rant time?
I don't know, man. I feel like
Zach's rant of the week.
This is where some things where we could maybe disagree on, and I've got some some people I've got a bone to pick with. And I am not an NBA caliber athlete. I'm not even a junior high basketball player caliber athlete, probably. I've been known to, get a few buckets in my day. Not really.
God.
I'm the guy that wears the shoes, and that's about it. But I want to talk about who should play, and not just like who should be on the court, because I feel like all these guys have earned an opportunity to an extent, but who should be getting the key minutes? Now, the obvious guys, let's get those out of the way. Russ, Melo, PG, and Adams. Mm-hmm. Those guys should be on the court the majority of the time. I think of those four, Adams is probably the guy that he's the odd man out in some situations. He tends to get into foul trouble early sometimes, and I get that. If it's not a good matchup, like if someone's going small, like Dallas, they like to go small. And I feel like we should be able to outplay them in that aspect, but Adams is definitely the guy. He's going to hover more around the 28 to 30 minute mark, whereas you've got Russ, Melo, and PG. Those guys are pushing 35-ish.
Yeah,
apiece.
And Adams is learning. He's still, this is his second contract in the NBA. He's still a young guy, and he's statistically has made improvements every single season, even though he's been dealing with injuries. And so, the early foul trouble, that's just. He's going to have to learn to be smarter in certain situations, body placement, what you can and cannot do. Sometimes I feel like he just ends up in the wrong spot at the wrong time and just takes out somebody without even, and then he's got that look like,
oh man, did I murder somebody?
He's
just bad.
He's just so big that he, takes up space on the floor.
You can't help it. Cut him some slack.
Right. Anyways, so outside of those four that we know should be getting playing time, who should be there in that fifth spot for the most minutes on the team?
It's actually, statistically right now, it's kind of a tie between Andre and Jeremy Grant, and I'm actually okay with that. You said Jeremy Grant should be getting more starter-like minutes. And the thing is, he and Dre are kind of splitting. Even though they don't play the same position, they really do kind of, they don't play a whole lot together. But Andre Robertson, obviously, he's not the offensive prowess that we would like, but the fact of the matter is he's still doing really well. A couple stats that stood out to me about him, I went and looked these up. His offensive rating is only 98.5. That's not that good, but his defensive rating is the best on the team by far at 93.3. So he still has a plus 5.2 net rating. He's still getting it done. Like, his defense is definitely valuable, and the statistics back that up. Jeremy Grant, he's a little bit better offensively at 99.9. Sorry, he's quite a bit better offensively at 104.2. His defense isn't quite as good at 99.9. He's a plus 4.3. So net rating, Andre's a little bit better. And you can argue that Dre plays with the starters. So that kind of impacts the stats. And I get that. That makes sense. But at the same time, and this is a stat that this would be considered being nitpicky. So I'm admitting to that, so just hear me out here. With the starters, minus Andre Robertson. So if you were to insert Jeremy Grant into the starting lineup, that lineup has only played a total of 13 minutes together this season, and in those 13 minutes, they are a minus 18. I'm not even sure who that was against, but that is tied for the worst lineup plus-minus that has been on the floor this season for the Thunder. I thought that was interesting. I know you mentioned you'd like to see him start, and obviously that's such a very, very, very,
it's a
small
sample
size. So I don't really know how accurate that is. I just thought that would be interesting to throw out there. I still think that both of those guys should be getting more minutes. Some of these minutes that are being passed around, I'm just kind of like, why? Is there anybody you wanted to point out?
I was just going to say...
On those guys, at least?
As far as that goes, I'm obviously going to disagree on the Andre Robertson thing. We're not going to see the same on that. To me, until I see a game where Andre Robertson catches the ball on offense and then he's not even looking... you as much as you support the guy, yelled at him the other night because he caught the ball on the corner of the free throw and had a wide open look and didn't even consider taking it. And when that happens... it essentially on offense is 4-on-5. The defender... Dirk wasn't even playing close to him.
Which he doesn't really play defense anyway.
I hear you.
He
can barely move on the floor, but he still kicked our butts the other night.
He had... I don't know if that was a season high for him, but it probably was pretty close.
Yeah, I think it was someone on the Thunder broadcast said that Dirk's playing like it's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But to me... no matter what the defensive rating is there, it's not worth having that liability on offense.
Okay.
And especially right now, and like I said, if the tides were turned, if we were having struggles on defense, I could see the argument there. But when our problems are offensively right now, I think we can agree on that.
Without a doubt. You look at the statistics, and we're like in the 20s in the NBA in rankings on where we're at defensively on everything, and it's terrible.
I think you can't have that liability. And the thing that's so irritating, I think, is if he was just garbage and never did anything, it would be one thing. But the fact that the other night he hit that clutch corner three when nobody else was making that shot,
anything.
He takes the shot and makes it, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then
you can ask. I'll tell you the guys off air who I was watching the game with. But you can ask them, and when he put the shot up, they go, no! And I go, money! And bam, he made it. Like, I was kind of joking, honestly. But I called it, he hit it, and he went 2 for 3 from 3 that night.
Yeah, I mean, of course, he does that, and he has those
Dallas,
games.
He was like 0 for...
Right, and then his first, I think it was his first 3 of the game against Dallas, it hits the side of the backboard, and I'm just like, how? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
was so bad.
He took a free throw that he had to, essentially, blow up there to get it to hit the rim. Like, it barely grazed the front of the rim. I'm just like, it's a mental thing with him, and...
Which, surprisingly, and this is getting off just a little bit, people have not tried the hack-a-Dre strategy at all. He's only shot 10 free throws all season. He's only made 3 of them, but I feel like when you only shoot 1 or 2 a game, it's kind of hard to get into a rhythm. So
yeah, I mean, I wonder if that's kind of going to become a thing of the past, because you haven't really seen it anywhere else unless I've missed it. But I think even in the situation with DeAndre Jordan, it was the Clippers were actually having more success in those situations. Right. So I think teams were finally realizing maybe it's not working out.
And then Andre Drummond, I think it was last night against the Celtics, they fouled him, sent him to the line.
Okay.
And he knocked down both.
Right.
And then he shushed the crowd because they'd put the game away at that point. But so I don't know. I guess guys are maybe stepping up. Hopefully, if that happens with Dre, he can knock those free throws down. But let's move down the line. Talk about a couple other guys. Those two, we agree they need at least some minutes of some sort. You think Jeremy Grant deserves more, Andre Robertson less? That's fine. I mean, I would at least be willing to try that out. And then if there's a guy killing us,
Right.
Next up for me personally is Raymond Felton. He's been super consistent. He has a minus 0.9 plus minus average, and I get that part of that is because he's playing with the bench. He's only playing 17.5 minutes a game, but he's averaging almost 7 points. He's shooting 36% from 3. That's kind of come down a little bit lately. He was on fire there for a little while. But he's getting some things done. He is a seasoned veteran. He can play some decent defense.
He looks so poised at all times.
He does. Like, he's just out there hooping with the guys.
He literally
against
looks like
Golden
that, like he's
State,
at the YMCA or something.
He got switched on both on offense and defense. Kevin Durant gets on him, and he hits this little fader over him like Kobe, and it's like...
It doesn't make sense.
Not at all.
And then, height,
I know.
Yeah.
And then there was on one of the other possessions, he was on defense, and he got switched onto Kevin Durant, and Durant's trying to ISO on him, and he's just roughing him up a little bit, and I don't know if Curry didn't see Durant wide open or what it was, but they didn't even try to go to him. So Raymond Felton's a guy that I don't know if he needs to be pushing more towards the 20-minute mark, get a few of those extras. One thing I don't like is they like to put Billy Donovan likes to put Felton and Westbrook on the court at the same time. I think that should be very rarely used.
See, I was about to say I enjoy that lineup.
It just depends. I think it's situational, I guess. I've seen it work. I've seen it go terribly.
Right. I mean, this season the way that Russ has been shooting, it's obviously not working out. But I don't mind seeing Russ playing that 2 spot, because that's what he's more coming into the league. He was more of a natural 2.
Right.
I don't really consider. I mean, after you've played almost 10 years as a point guard in the NBA, I don't think it's fair to say that you're a natural 2 guard anymore. People still want to argue that, but giving that allows Westbrook more options. I feel like when he isn't the only guy bringing the ball up the floor. Mm-hmm. But like you were saying, it's not been working out. So
I prefer the ball to be in his hands. Is the main thing with me, but. Like I said, Felton's that veteran guy. I can trust him. He's gotten himself into some sticky situations. The guy's ball pressuring him, and he's been able to dribble his way out of it, surprisingly.
Right, I say ball handling is very impressive.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's move on. I categorize some guys as questionable in terms of their minutes. We've both been on this Alex Sabrinas, holding back, wanting to just rail the guy. And I actually went and looked at the stats. There are some things that I feel like I've mentally been too hard on him, but at the same time, he's killing me right now. He's averaging 15 minutes a game. That's probably eighth highest on the team. So he's one of those key bench guys in terms of getting minutes. But he's only averaging 4 points. He's shooting 37% from the field and a pretty terrible 32% from three. That's supposed to be his thing, is shooting threes. And a lot of these threes that he's missing are wide open, and it's wearing me out. But you look at his plus minus, and he's still a +4. I think a lot of that is because he's getting put in with Russell Westbrook, so I think he's benefiting from that. His defense has gotten better, but he's still somewhat of a liability. His three-point shooting, it's been, for him, abysmal. But on a positive note, he has been getting a lot better at being able to cut to the basket, finishing strong, that kind of thing.
That is an area of his game that he has improved on. I feel like he's still, I would consider, one-dimensional on offense, but he's starting to make or taking the steps in the right direction. I think this could just be my I could be wrong on this, but my opinion, his struggles from the three this year are transferring over from the defensive side of things. He looks completely lost on the defense side of the ball.
Like he's always chasing somebody.
Right, and I think it's that Euro style defense, but it's not working. And I think when you're getting burnt to the basket on defense, it's hard to be in the right mindset coming back down on offense. And so, to me, that's the biggest issue this year. Is I think last year he struggled, but I don't think it was quite this bad. I feel like he's giving up the baseline way too often. Making bad switches on defense.
He's just not in the right position.
Right. And he's not an unathletic guy. He should be able to make these plays, but it's not happening. I think that's affecting his shooting and his mindset on those type of things.
Moving on, we've got just a couple more minutes to talk about minutes and guys. Patrick Patterson, Josh Huestis, Terrence Ferguson. That would probably be the order that I would put those guys, except for Patrick Patterson has not been good.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Josh Huestis actually playing more minutes than Patrick Patterson. That might surprise you a little bit.
Maybe a little. He's done well. I mean, he's not shooting well, really, but he's not shooting a lot, so I'm okay with that.
To me, it's a little bit... I think he needs more opportunity.
I agree.
I wouldn't have minded seeing him play those 20 minutes that Terrence Ferguson had.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, the guy, we've had a small sample size of what he can do, and he's had times where he looks like he should be playing, and then he's had other moments where you're like...
Sit the young fella down.
But maybe if you gave him more than 3-4 minutes at a time, we'd be able to get a better reading on this.
And I think, for me, that's part of my beef with Billy Donovan. With his rotation so random, guys cannot develop any type of rhythm or chemistry, and it's like, what are they even supposed to expect? I don't know if he goes into a game and let them know, hey, Terrence, you're first man off the bench tonight. And guys are like, what? Or if it's just like, Jeremy Grant's ready to come in, Raymond Felton's ready to come in, and he looks down and calls Terrence Ferguson, and everybody's like, this dude? Really? I don't know what they're thinking, but there's no consistency. Guys can't... Rhythm is so important. Routine is so important. We talked about that with Russell Westbrook, his free throw shooting, and routine is important. Guys have routines. And I'm not saying you develop these strict rules on your rotations and you stick to them. I'm not saying that, but you need to develop some type of consistency so that guys know what to expect.
Right.
Keep it flexible so that teams can't just defend you because they know exactly what you're going to do. But you can't throw a guy in there for 20 plus minutes who's barely played over the course of the last 15 games. That's not good coaching to me. Okay. So moving on, let's take a look at our weekly forecast. We've got about 5 minutes.
I want to throw in a question for you at the end of this, right before we end.
Cool. Weekly forecast. We've got Orlando coming up tomorrow. The Magic started off really well at 8-4. They've lost 9 in a row now.
Right. I kind of bought into the Magic a little bit. But it's kind of, I wanted to. Like, I wanted them to start.
I actually picked them. They were in my bottom 5 to start the season just because I remembered that they were bad last year. I didn't think they were going to improve much. And then they started proving me wrong. And I was like, all right, well, never mind. And now here they are. To say that they have lost the Magic would be an understatement. So, no win is guaranteed for this Thunder team, but that is a good one for us to really get some things rolling. Because then we move into hosting Minnesota on Friday night. We've already lost to them twice so far.
We've got to get a win there.
We need to. A division win, a head-to-head win. I mean, the 2 losses that we've lost have been close. We've lost on a buzzer beater in Oklahoma City on that questionable no call on the screen. Andrew Wiggins hit the backboard buzzer beater. We lost 113 to 115. Then we went just a few days later into Minnesota. Melo missed a 3 with like 4 seconds left in the game. We lost 116 to 119. So we have the capability to beat them. They are a talented team, but so are we.
And then the Spurs
on Sunday.
Following that. So these are again, like we were looking at last week, 3 winnable games, but also 3 losable games to where the Thunder could dig themselves in a deeper hole. Especially Tony Parker coming back. I'm not sure what the chemistry will be there, how many minutes he's going to be playing. Will he be starting? Or
I'm not sure. He's been playing basketball for a while. I don't know if you saw that. He was playing in the G League for a little bit.
Yeah, I did see something like that, yeah.
Which I think is exactly how the G League should be used. That's another conversation for another day. But he's back, and he made a comment that he thinks Kawhi Leonard will be back soon. I highly doubt, I would say there's no chance almost, that he'll be back for that game on Sunday. So we don't get to see that, and I don't like that. I like to play teams at their full strength because that really shows us where we are. But I mean, we'll take what we can get at this point. We lost to the Spurs a week and a half ago. We had that giant
big lead,
and then we lost by 3. Another one where we just kind of let up at the end. So I mean, the Spurs are 13-7 right now. We've really got to get. I mean, I almost want to say we need these 3 wins. We need to get back to 500.
I would agree with you. I'm going to predict a 3-win week because I think the Thunder need it. I think we as fans need it.
I like that.
The positivity, some good vibes in here.
Throw out good vibes too.
So with 2 minutes left, let me throw out a question for you.
Right. I'm scared.
We've agreed. Don't worry. We've agreed that it's too early to fire Billy Donovan. For now.
Right.
If the Thunder lose that game against Golden State, do you think he is
on Wednesday?
Did that buy him some time? Or do you think if
without a doubt it bought him some time.
If we're sitting at 7-11 and we haven't been competitive lately, besides when we led a little bit in the Detroit game, but had we lost that, do you think that he's in a little more of a hot seat than he is now?
I definitely think he is viewed more favorably, but I think if we lost that game, then lost a close one to Detroit, and then get smacked by Dallas, I think the fans are as angry as they've been in a very long... And they're already mad. Like, a lot of fans are mad. But there are a decent number of level-headed people that are saying... Chill. He let him do his thing, and I'm kind of in agreement. Billy Donovan has been known to make good adjustments at times. 19 games in, I'm not ready to pull the plug on him. I want to see what he's got. I really want to see where we're at by New Year's Eve for the month of December. We've got a whole other month of basketball coming up, where that will be a good opportunity for him to prove that he's still got something to do with this team. He's got to prove it though, and I think this is a good week to get us rolling. We'll see where we're at next week.
I'll end with this. I want to see this team start stringing together wins instead of a 2-3 here and then 2-3 losses in a row. Especially, I mean, it's early, but as you get deeper in the season, you want to be putting together those wins because you got to get 4 out of 7 in a playoff series. And so when we're struggling to win 4 games in the span of 10 games, it's like, how are we ever going to win a playoff series? So you definitely want to see them start working towards getting on some streaks and really consistency on both sides of the ball.
For sure. All right, Thunder fans, thank you so much for joining us for another week of Thunder Things with the Thunder Guys. We will be back next week. Make sure that you are giving us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the Thunder Guys. We're keeping you updated with all kinds of pregame content. Got your game previews ready to go with some postgame recaps and some quick thoughts there, as well as jump in on the conversation on Twitter. We are keeping it going every single game, live tweeting, letting you know what's going on, offering our insights. Sometimes it's honest, sometimes it's ridiculous, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's just crazy. Whatever it is, join in. We want to hear from you guys. We love chatting it up with the fans because, I mean, that's what we are. We're big fans. Make sure you give us a like on Facebook as well. And that's all we've got for this week. So thank you so much. And you guys have a good week. Thank you so much for joining us on